Good day there viewers, and welcome to my channel. My name is Cliff. I'm a gem cutter from Australia, and as you can see I'm ready to start faceting another gem. But this video will not be about faceting. It will be actually about how I clean my machine and my surrounding area before I start a faceting project. So before I start any project, I want to eliminate any possible contamination in my work area. Contamination, particularly from diamond particles, is a gem cutter's worst enemy. So before I start, I'm just going to disassemble my machine. Now, I haven't cleaned my machine since my last project. So I want to get to the base of my pan, and I've just removed my topper lap, and now I've just removed the master lap. And I'm using a microfiber cloth which is damp, and I want to remove all the debris from my last project. Now in the debris there could be possible diamond dust or diamond grit, and obviously there will be the grindings from the last gem I cut. Now it's really the diamond grit and the diamond dust that is the biggest enemy, because that contamination, if it gets onto a polished gem or a gem, it will scratch it. Once the tray has been cleaned out, I've rinsed out all the debris out of the cloth and just start cleaning the surrounding area around the machine. Also paying attention to some of the tools that I use, cleaning that also. And even when it comes to cleaning, because diamond particles can actually attach to anything, make sure you clean things like your spindle. So the next step is to start disassembling some of the components on the faceting machine, starting with the quill assembly. And this is more an issue to do with maintenance rather than contamination, where I will clean out the inside of the quill, and I'll also be looking at the shaft and applying a little bit of oil to it. So the next step is to remove the washers, and if they need replacing, I'll replace those with new washers. Also, I'll be looking at the shaft, and the shaft will need cleaning as that's where the quill rotates on. So you'll get a little bit of wear and tear, so it's good to clean that once in a while. So I'm just using a paper towel, and then later I'll apply some oil to it. So let's put a little bit of oil on the shaft, and the type of oil I like to use is liquid paraffin oil, and you can buy that from a chemist. So once the shaft has been lightly oiled, I like to clean the inside of my quill to get any dirt out of that also. So I'm just using a paper towel, rolling it up, and just twisting it inside the quill to remove any dirt. So as you can see, it's a little bit dirty inside, and then I'll go in from the other end and do the same. So once the majority of the dirt has been removed, I get an earbud. Actually, I don't use anything on the earbud, just a clean one, and poke that inside the quill to see what else comes out. I think in the USA they call these Q-tips, but here in Australia we call these just cotton earbuds. So next step is for me to clean the cheater assembly, so that's all running nice and smooth. Now my cheater assembly tends to get a little bit of dirt and dust inside of it, and it's spring loaded, so this type of mechanism I wouldn't be putting any type of oil on it like WD-40, because that would attract just more dust and dirt to get into it. And really it's a type of mechanism that doesn't require any type of lubrication, just a clean out. And once again, just using a cotton bud to clean out the dust or any debris. So once you're satisfied with cleaning out the cheater assembly and oiling the shaft and cleaning the inside of the quill, it's time to put things back together. Put the washers in or any parts that you need to replace, and make sure that the quill is rotating nice and smoothly on the shaft. So if you have a quill assembly that has screws that requires tightening, make sure you don't over tighten the screws, because in the quill assembly there are little grommets, and those push in onto the shaft, and there's a recess on the shaft where the quill will swivel on. If you over tighten the screws, you will damage the grommets. So take your time just tightening each screw, and as you can see, it hasn't quite tightened or latched onto the shaft, but it's really important to make sure that you do this correctly. Don't over tighten. So the next step for me is to clean the mast on the machine. Some people might wish to do this first and then clean the faceting head assembly. With my faceting head assembly, I can lock everything into place and then just lift it off the mast and just put it aside for a moment, and then later on I can just reattach it back onto my mast. Now it's really important to clean your mast each time you cut another gem. I like to, a lot of people don't, it's up to the person, but when you cut a gem, quite often you get water splashing, you might get a bit of residue from the gem you're cutting on the mast, you might get a bit of diamond dust on the mast. It's really good to clean it each time you cut a gem. I like to, and that way you can maintain your mast and you're not getting a lot of contamination or grit. And you'll notice that when I clean it with the towel first, that quite a bit of dirt will come off the mast, and then later on I'll apply some of the paraffin oil. So I'm going through all these little steps, and I guess for those people who are experienced at faceting and you're seasoned at cutting gems, this may seem a little bit boring, but for those people who are new to faceting and you've invested a lot of money into a brand new machine, it's really good that you see what's going on. Sometimes an eyeful is better than an earful. And I guess if you're a seasoned faceter and you're not doing this, maybe you're not as experienced as you may think you are, because this is something you have to do quite regularly. You do not want to be put in a situation where you're just cutting gems all the time, and yeah, it's a lot of fun cutting gems and building up debris in your pan and never cleaning your machine. It's a little bit like servicing a car. a car that's serviced regularly usually runs a lot longer than a car that never gets an oil change. You know, it's just the way it is. Machines are machines, they break down, and usually they break down because they're not serviced properly. So when you oil the mast, just apply a little bit. You know, you should be able to just tell how much oil it needs. It shouldn't be dripping everywhere. If you have a mast that has a covering or some type of sheath over it, you will need to take that off and still oil your mast and clean it up. Just because it's covered up, your mast assembly doesn't mean that it's not going to get dirty and contaminated. So keep an eye on that mast. So my height adjuster will also need to be cleaned because it slides up and down the mast, so that will get dirty within the inside of it. So just like the Quill assembly, I just push some paper towel through it to clean any debris that are inside the height adjuster. So I'm cleaning the height adjuster now, just like I did with the Quill assembly, just using paper towel, cleaning out any debris within inside of the height adjuster. I don't need to use any oil inside of the height adjuster as the mast is already lubricated and it should really move up and down nice and smoothly. Now some height adjusters like mine have bearings inside of it, so make sure those bearings have grease in them, because your fastening head assembly will sit on top of the spindle on the height adjuster, and that should rotate around nice and smoothly also. So after I've put on my master lap, I like to occasionally clean the master lap with metal polish. So I put a little bit of Brasso onto a microfiber cloth and then I'll clean my master lap. And it's quite simple because you just need to turn on your machine and you'll see what happens next. Last but not least, clean any items on your machine that your hands will come in contact with, particularly when you're using diamond grit and you don't clean your hands after you're using that diamond grit. It will end up on the tap handle on your water bottle, it will end up on switches on your machine. So if you're not cleaning your hands regularly after using diamond compounds or diamond grits, it will build up on your machine. So make sure you keep those areas clean. The last thing you want to be doing is cutting a beautiful gem and those contaminants end up on the gem and it ends up just scratching it, particularly on the final polish. So hopefully you've learned something from this video. It's over and out from me. Take care everybody. Bye.